sports. It's in the game.
"15 rounds down, just 4 more to go for Formula 1 in 2021, and the next 2 races are pivotal, with championship leader Valtteri Bottas within tantalising reach of his first world championship. 2 more races ahead of Lewis Hamilton starting from now would put it all beyond doubt, with 2 rounds left. Welcome to round 16 of Formula 1 in 2021, the US Grand Prix, with 20 corners, 2 DRS zones, one after turn 11 and the other after turn 20, and a very much a carbon copy of Silverstone's Maggot and Beckett section for Sector 1, and in particular the HAAS drivers have really struggled there. But we're all focusing on the front for now. Valtteri Bottas took an absolutely vital pole position, with Lewis Hamilton having to take a grid component change penalty. Max Verstappen finally back on the front row for a few first time in a few races now. Can he finally end? Well, it won't be getting his season up and running, it's too late, but if he can send a message into 2022, that would be appreciated. We all thought that at the end of last season, didn't we? But Max Verstappen is on the front row. He's gone relatively well here, and Bottas just seems in impeccable form. And here is the grid of 20 for today's US Grand Prix. Valtteri Bottas and Max Verstappen on the front row, although Max Verstappen had to benefit from Lewis Hamilton suffering a component change. However, Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz go up to 3rd and 4th as a result. The big benefactor is Fernando Alonso up in P6 alongside Lando Norris. Lewis Hamilton will go from 8th alongside Sebastian Vettel, who starts 7th. Sergio Perez will end the top 10 alongside Daniel Ricciardo. Sergio Perez also taking a grid penalty for component changes. Yuki Tsunoda and AlphaTauri's Pierre Gasly, or the other way around, is back on the 6th row, with the HAAS boys 13th and 14th for their home race. Kimi Raikkonen is 15th alongside George Russell. Esteban Ocon continues to really be at the fall guy of the grid at the moment, down in P17 alongside Lance Stroll. The back of the grid is for once a little bit different. Nicholas Latifi and Antonio Giovinazzi bring up your grid of 20, and that is a very interesting result. Haas's home race, Aiden Jackson in P13. Anything could be possible here, and it is pivotal now at the bottom of the championship table that Haas finish ahead of Alfa Romeo as much as possible. And to be fair, we've not really talked about it a lot this season, but Alfa Romeo have really squandered this year, haven't they? Even Haas are behind them now. Now, to be fair, that is all due to Aiden Jackson at Haas. He's been the driver bringing in the points and the win at Monza. But Alfa Romeo, you'd think with the experience of Kimi Raikkonen and the rapid pace at times of Antonio Giovinazzi, you would think that Alfa Romeo would be out of reach by now. But it is Haas exceeding all expectations in that kind of standing, but it is going to be a tricky one for Haas today. Aiden Jackson has really struggled in the section we just passed. The Magnet and Beckett section is a section where he struggled with as well. The car, as we said last time out, just does not look great in fast flowing corners, and I think that's been the reason Aiden Jackson has been so successful, is because we haven't had a lot of that. But as we've come into the later races with faster corners and with favour cars that are planted to the road, the Haas is planted to the road, it just won't turn. And Jackson's been really struggling with that this weekend. He was out, not even out of Q1 this time around, but he got promoted to 13th place, and Schumacher to 14th because of grid penalties. But it has been a lot closer between Jackson and Schumacher this weekend, as he starts to finally claw back some time, at least on Jackson, if not anything else. Because as we said, Jackson has got all the points, and he could be on for some more. We know that Jackson is a lightning starter, and it's fair to say that Haas have amassed quite the following this weekend. There's been a lot of fan cheer when Aiden Jackson has been on the track, roaring him across the finish line, so to speak, or the start-finish straight on every lap, and it is to the complex to the right there as they come to complete the formation lap. There is no threat of rain for the moment, but as you can tell, it's looking rather overcast out there. So we could have a rain-affected race later on. We've not really had many rain-affected races here since the introduction of the circuit back in 2012. There was one qualifying session, I believe, where it was drenched in about 2015 or 16, I think. Well, here come the red lights. It's a pivotal weekend for Valtteri Bottas on pole position. It's lights out and away we go for the US Grand Prix, and Max Verstappen has flown away. What a start by Verstappen, and that will not go down well with Bottas. Verstappen immediately covers him, and it looks like we're all going to get through turn one. There's Aiden Jackson going round the outside of a McLaren there. Has Jackson made up positions? I think he has. I think he's up to a P11 already, but he started P13, so it's not been the lightning start that Jackson's used to. But what a pivotal moment there. Max Verstappen, what a start from the boy. Absolutely racing away into turn one. Absolutely not challenged at all. But Valtteri Bottas will not be thinking about that one bit. His head is in the championship, and vitally, he is very much ahead of Lewis Hamilton. He has to race today, Lewis Hamilton, if he's going to have any chance of clawing back the gap. And as we said, a pivotal weekend. Bottas can't win it this weekend unless he wins the race and Hamilton retires, and I think even then it wouldn't be enough. But Max Verstappen, well, he's put paid to all of that, isn't he? What a start. And he is on for his third win of the season, which is a very astounding total, I know, but he's only won at the Austrian Grand Prix, I think it was. He might be on for just one or two, actually. So Max Verstappen has not had the vintage season everyone expected him to have. And right now, he seems to be where he should have been all this time, to be honest, out in front. But Bottas is keeping tabs on him and keeping very much him in sight. There isn't really any movers up and down the field. Hamilton is still 9th. Jackson has gone up to 10th. So Jackson once again in the points, but he's going to struggle down in the opening section of the track. With Max Verstappen is coming up to now. Look at this start from Verstappen. Absolutely pinch perfect. The clutch in the perfect bike position to get that kind of launch. Fantastically done by Max Verstappen. And sadly, it is a question of what could it be for Max Verstappen. And with starts like that, he's pretty much showing it. Here's Jackson then. And it looked a pretty good getaway from Jackson. But I think there was someone up there. There was one of the AlphaTauris there. Which I believe was Tsunoda going down the outside. Jackson takes a McLaren, and one of the other AlphaTauri, I believe it was Gasly, who'd fallen behind, and then he took Tsunoda down in this big braking zone, and we know that HAAS is good at under braking. Jackson has particularly found a knack for that, and but as we said before then, he will struggle with the fast-flowing corners at the beginning of the circuit. Charles Leclerc currently third, but the Ferraris were third and fourth anyway. Fernando Alonso up in P6. And Hamilton, even as we're coming to the end of lap 2, DRS will be enabled this lap. Hamilton is still P9, but he'll be probably under no threat from Aiden Jackson whatsoever. With that HAAS probably going to be forming a train anytime soon, and there it is already. To be fair, however, Jackson is kind of keeping in touch. But I think now that DRS is activated, Jackson is going to feel the struggle, as it were, but he's done great to get up into 10th place. The big loser, Mick Schumacher, down in P16, not able to make any inroads on his good position whatsoever. And Jackson once again puts Schumacher in the shade. And HAAS's home race, they are on for a point at the moment. But how long will Jackson stay there is the question, and the answer might not be very long at all, as there's Pierre Gasly down the inside. Jackson is the better exit out of the corner and defends like he always does. And that is him staying in P10 for now. But here we go, down past, I think it's turn 10, and into the DRS zone. And Gasly is going to receive DRS as he is less than a second behind Jackson on the straight. We are currently on board with a two-time world champion, Fernando Alonso, who there has been no real talk about his impending retirement yet. It's something he might decide at the end of the season. And he might do well to hold on to that discussion, because Alpine, at least in the hands of Alonso, has been a very decent car. The fact is, they've been hit with a plethora of engine penalties over the last 2 races, and they've been kind of out of position But finally, Fernando Alonso seems to be in the position he deserves. Top 10, Max Verstappen, followed by Valtteri Bottas, Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz of the Ferraris. Lando Norris is ahead of Fernando Alonso. Sebastian Vettel is still ahead of Sergio Perez. Vettel started behind Perez, didn't he? I think he might have. No, I think he was ahead. But in any case, Vettel is 9th, or 8th rather, followed by Perez, Hamilton 9th, and Jackson still in 10th, despite us opening the DRS now with DRS enabled. And there is Esteban Ocon, I think, in the other Alpine. Esteban Ocon was a lot further. No, it's not Esteban Ocon, my apologies. I think we were looking at the wrong HAAS there. I think we're looking at Schumacher, who's leading Ocon. And here's what we need to be focusing on. Look at Jackson. You can even tell just on the camera angles how much he is struggling with that HAAS in this section. And already now there's Pierre Gasly going round him again. And again Jackson defends in the same corner. And it was Yuki Tsunoda that fell behind. Daniel Ricciardo is down to 13th place. Although I think he was pretty much down there at the start, wasn't he? There's a Williams there. George Russell having a look at Daniel Ricciardo. We've not seen a lot of that this season. And that would bring back memories of the late 90s for you. With Ferrari, Williams and McLaren pretty much running near the front on a consistent basis. 1997 and 1996 in particular would have tested that for Williams, with Damon Hill and Jacques Villeneuve taking both those years' championships respectively. And sadly it's been very different for Williams since 1998, but they are on the rise. But they have to be worried now about one day, maybe the inevitable happening, and them losing George Russell to Mercedes. Although, as we heard earlier in the year, those talks have been put on hold because Valtteri Bottas is on the edge of the title, and he could really pull out a decent gap here. I don't think he can win it this weekend, but this would go a long way because he's in P2 and Hamilton's only in P9 and struggling against Perez. But that man, Max Verstappen, just looking absolutely planted to the floor in the Red Bull, as he seems to hit the resurgence button. But he only scored a point in Russia, of course, but he looked really good. Despite that, he actually put up a point, and who knows where he would have been if he had to change his front wing twice. Once for a clash with Norris, and the second one, not really sure, to be honest. Having a look at the replays back at the race, Max didn't really hit the wall anywhere. So it must have been a fundamental fault, and as we said, Aiden Jackson had to fix one of those in Monaco before we had a crazy front wing collision with the Alfa Romeo losing his front wing and Stroll going off. And it was due to the bollard. He suffered a rear puncture as Hamilton, even with DRS, cannot pass Perez on this occasion, but Perez is getting DRS off Sebastian Vettel and vice versa. And still, Aiden Jackson is running in P10, so the DRS is not affecting Jackson for now, and he's holding his own. But the AlphaTauris at one point or another are going to pass him. Jackson is on the softs at the moment, and HAAS seem to be HAAS were really reluctant at the start of the season to use the soft tyres, but in recent races Jackson has found a lot of pace in them. But unfortunately, it's later in the races where they kind of fade away, and that happened in Russia for Jackson, although he did pass Latifi, or I think it was Russell late on. And there is Pierre Gasly going down the inside. Again, Jackson defends as they come up the start-finish straight. Gasly out the field. He's going to have DRS, but he's fallen back a little bit. And there's Tsunoda on the outside. And Gasly's going to dive bomb down the inside. That's going to end up in the collision. It does. Gasly spins it, and he's going to reverse. And there's a big traffic jam. There's a bunch of debris on the track. The safety car wants to come out. That's Mick Schumacher again in a collision. Mick Schumacher is out of the race again. And it looked like the same as it was in a couple of races back, wasn't it? Monza. Schumacher went into George Russell and tired from the race, and he's done so again. Mick Schumacher, probably one of those unlucky drivers in the field at the second half of the season. This all started from Gasly coming from... Oh, that was never on. That was never on for Pierre Gasly. He was a mile off Jackson there. That was not on. Schumacher just absolutely makes a meal of it and smashes into Stroll. And really, to be honest with you, I think there's a lot of luck involved that there's no more retirements. There's Ricciardo in there. Russell has hit Ricciardo. That should be a retirement. And then he got a smack from into the front wing for Giovinazzi, or Raikkonen, I think it was. There's about 5 or 6 cars in there. But amazingly, Mick Schumacher there is the only retirement. Latifi has benefited that, passing his own teammate. He was in the middle of that. And, wow. Well, what an absolute mess. And somehow, someway, Mick Schumacher, the poor lad, is the only retirement of it all. Which is hugely unusual, but I guess the others will take it. So the leaders, Bottas and Verstappen, are in the pits. Verstappen's going to get held up a little bit by the... No, he's not, actually. He's not going to get held up by the Ferraris. The Ferraris are double stacking, so this ruins Carlos Sainz's race with the safety car out. The safety car has been deployed. And Vettel's going back into the soft tyres. I think he was one of the... No, he wasn't. I think it was Stroll that was involved. There's Jackson. And, well, that was not really Jackson's fault. Gasly just coming from so far out to try and pass Jackson. He went for a bit of a rash move there. And Jackson is going onto the hard tyres for the second stint of this race. Now, that could either be a very brave move or a very not such a great move here, because the hard tyres are not going to last. This circuit really chews on tyres, as most of the cars have seen this weekend. We were expecting about 2 or maybe 3 stops for some in this race, because that section there eats up the tyres with the way it flows. But Jackson's not really flowing through the corners, so maybe what he's hoping for is that maybe if he goes under the hard tyres, he takes one less pit stop. That could be an absolutely inspired move from Haas, or it could go badly wrong. I guess we'll see, and that was the words I was looking for earlier. But anyway, safety car is out. A very early appearance from the Mercedes-Benz safety car driven by Bert Mylander. We have another race where the safety car is in effect here, and we're getting a lot of these in the second half of the season. I believe since Monza we've had the safety car at least or even since Zandvoort even we've had the safety car appear at least once in the last maybe 4 races now. So we couldn't buy a safety car appearance in the first half of the season, in the first 10 or 11 races, up to 12 races with Spa. Never got to Zandvoort. Now the safety car's coming out all over the place, which I think is the right decision when you think about it. Loads of debris on the track. Only one retirement from Mick Schumacher, because his luck is just not with it at the moment. And, well, he's out of the race again, much like at Monza, to be fair. And I think it was another Williams that he was involved in with that as well. It might have even been Russell, because I think the Williams were kind of stuck almost together. The TV actually benefited from it all and went into P16. I think it was Russell and Stroll that had to change their front wigs. Esteban Ocon's had his race ruined. He's down in P17 now. So another appearance for the safety car. We had 2 in Zandvoort. We had 1 in Monza. And now we've got 1 here. And Bert Mylander has been very busy. We had 1 in Russia as well. I think we had the virtual safety car in Russia, of course. But safety car has been rather busy these last few races. That's for sure. Well, this is a perfect opportunity for Valtteri Bottas. The Red Bull mechanics doing a great job and really just reacting to the safety car. It came out at the perfect time for Verstappen to cover Mercedes if need be. Lando Norris has got past Carlos Sainz, and that's because Sainz had to wait up for Charles Leclerc. He was stacked behind him, of course. That's why I chose to double stack the cars. Carlos Sainz, to be fair, didn't lose a whole lot in all that. Only lost 1 position to Norris. So the leaders are going for a second stint on soft tyres. So we're going to definitely see at least 2 stops this race from the leaders. Aiden Jackson's decision to go on the hards is interesting, but I have a feeling that everyone around him is going to be on more fresher. Well, all the tyres will be fresh, to be fair, but I think it's going to be a case of Jackson just being on the wrong tyres at the moment. I know what Haas are trying to do, and they might as well roll the dice, because not much is expected of them in most weekends anyway. The safety car is coming in at the end of his lap, led by Max Verstappen. Then he will in effect become the safety car now as he leads the pack round, and the safety car's lights have gone out. So now Max can control the pace from the front, but he needs to be wary of Valtteri Bottas. He's in a much faster car, to be fair. because the Mercedes has been walking it in the second half of the season. That's why we say that. But Max definitely got his mojo there at the start. And here we go. Round to the final couple of corners then. There is the safety car pulling into the pit lane. And now Max can choose to go. Will he choose late? Like he did, I think it was Tuscany that caused that massive accident. There we go, green flag. And Verstappen has absolutely took off already. And no chance for Valtteri Bottas to try a lunge into turn 1. That is certainly not happening. Max Verstappen, absolutely perfect restart. And now here's Yuki Tsunoda going down the inside of Aiden Jackson. Jackson tries to hold it. I think they made contact almost. And there's Giovinazzi as well. Or Raikkonen rather. And Jackson has had a poor restart by the looks of it. He's going to get swamped by the Alfa Romeo. And he might get swamped by Daniel Ricciardo. He's gone off the road. Jackson, a terrible restart. He's falling like a stone. And that is his chance for points gone. And that worked out horribly for Haas. They should have put Jackson maybe on the softs to give him some form of battle. But they can understand why they tried something different. And it has all ended up in disaster. Jackson is now down into 15th place. His chance of points are gone. Antonio Giovinazzi now is in P10 for Alfa Romeo. So now Jackson and Haas will need to hope that Tsunoda can make a move into P10. Raikkonen's not far off the points either, up there in P12. So it's worked out horribly for Jackson and the Haas team. And now they've lost Mick Schumacher in this race, and Jackson's fallen out of the points. I think that was in the first few corners. We said that Jackson and the Haas car in particular has really struggled in that first sector. And that really just epitomised the matter as Verstappen leads Bottas, who leads Leclerc, and they're already a second clear of Charles up there in P3, as they are in a league of their own at the moment. And Max Verstappen already off the restart, sending the fastest lap of the race. Giovinazzi's coming into the pits. I did wonder if there was contact between Jackson and Giovinazzi. So let's see if there was. In he comes. No, it's for a scheduled stop. So Giovinazzi and Alfa Romeo have thrown possible points away, because Giovinazzi did not stop under the safety car, and well, that's really ruined his race now, and Giovinazzi's race for points over as well. So it's not just Jackson who's lost out, Giovinazzi has as well, and that's crucial for Alfa Romeo, because Yuki Tsunoda now holds the final point position. I mean, a point wouldn't go a really long way for Alfa Romeo at this point. They need more than that. I think they're like 15 points behind Haas in the Constructors' battle at the moment. And that money is going to do wonders for Haas if they can keep that position for the end of the season when they get handed out the prize money. That's going to be vital if we don't have the new cars, as is feared with the costs mount, possibly. And Haas were doing all their resourcing towards 2022, and now it all could have gone to waste. And if that is the case, it's going to be a stinking ship for next year, because the specifications will have to be adjusted. And here comes Nicholas Latifi on the soft tyres, challenging Aiden Jackson. Now, the Haas has had the legs of the Williams, more or less, in a lot of races this season, particularly in the hands of Nicholas Latifi. The poor man's just had no luck, really. But here he is with a possible overtaking opportunity with Jackson over DRS. He squirmed out of that corner, I think. The Haas is literally undrivable at the moment. And this is not a good showing for the home Grand Prix. Even Jackson is struggling just to wrestle the car around the corners in this one. I think Nicholas Latifi. DRS has only just been enabled, however. So Haas really have struggled keeping cars behind when DRS is active. That's definitely been an issue since, well, the beginning of the season, more or less. Baku really showed that. And I think it really is the lack of development, especially in the aerodynamic and chassis department. The Ferrari B-Spec unit has definitely helped them, but it helped them to a win. And was that someone stopped on the track there at the back? Maybe that was just a glitch with the footage. Lewis Hamilton going around the outside of Sebastian Vettel. This is a P7. This is absolutely crucial for Hamilton on the soft tyres. And no, nothing doing there. I'm not sure what the stoppage was. Maybe that was just the camera showing a stopped vehicle. And there is Nicholas Latifi passing Aiden Jackson. Jackson tries to go for the undercut, but he hasn't got the tyres because he's on the wrong tyres. And, well, Aiden Jackson now, the advantage of softs is going to hit home. And HAAS would have been happy to do this at the beginning of the season, but I think they've seen the advantage that the soft tyres have given them over recent races. And now I think they're feeling the pain of it. Now that they're not there. Of course, they might have to make one a stop if that's the case, but Jackson put those on and we haven't even reached like 10. So I think Jackson will have to stop again, just to compound his matters. There's Esteban Ocon going down the inside, and there is Stroll veering to the left. What was that about? I'm not sure, but Jackson's got back ahead of him anyway. Maybe he was caught out by Jackson trying to veer to the left as he locks up there. And I wonder if that'll be damaged front wing for Stroll. As if Aston Martin didn't have enough problems either. And I think he is losing time there, so he might be coming in for a stop. Well, back at the front, nothing much is really happening. Max Verstappen is controlling it at the front, although Valtteri Bottas looks very close there with DRS. But nothing doing there. And Max Verstappen is controlling at the front, just reacting to Bottas, and they reacted to Mercedes, bringing Bottas into the full safety car. My apologies. And Verstappen's not able to really get away from Bottas, so that's credit to Bottas, to be fair, whose form has been impeccable this season, to be fair. But Max Verstappen certainly has found his way again. I think that's because the plethora of grid penalties are over that Red Bull have had to take in the last 3 or 4 races now. First time in about 4 races that Verstappen has not had to take an engine penalty for component changes. And Jackson is already losing out to the Alpine of Ocon, who's racing away. And Stroll is going to come into the pits, so he made contact with someone. And Jackson has nothing to even fight George Russell in the Williams at the moment. He has kept ahead of him though, to be fair. Ocon's past Latifi. No surprises there. So I think the question that really needs to be asked is, will Mercedes consider another loan for Aiden Jackson at Alpine if that story about Fernando Alonso's retirement is true? Or is the rumours about Aston Martin true and Mercedes are trying to kind of get him a deal there? And right now Mercedes have their own driver issues to sort out. Valtteri Bottas and Lewis Hamilton, it was very much expected. Bottas was probably going to make way for George Russell, but he's really had a year where he needed it, really, to be honest. He needed a year like this to prove the critics wrong. And he's been very stern towards his critics at times, Valtteri Bottas, when he's won races. And, well, this year he's certainly had the year to silence them for good. He's the championship leader, and Lewis Hamilton is only managing P7 behind Sebastian Vettel. As the old rivals, renowned acquaintances from 2017 and 2018, in a fierce battle. And well, here's Kimi Raikkonen down in P13 with Antonio Giovinazzi down in P18, and Alfa Romeo probably will not be getting any points in this race. Once again, they have pretty much set their own downfall, to be fair. And HAAS will stay ahead of them for another race more, despite them scoring no points, as Jackson is down in P17 now, as George Russell has just passed him, because Aiden Jackson is just having no answer to anyone at the moment. He's trying on the hard tyres. They haven't gone back on their decision and put Jackson back on the soft, so I don't think there'll be much point now, although to be fair, Jackson has hung it in against George Russell and kept the position, at least for a little while longer. Down now the inside, which will turn to the outside for George Russell, and no way through there. And Sergio Perez there, looking very close to Lewis Hamilton all of a sudden. And this would favour not only Red Bull, or actually probably wouldn't favour Red Bull at all. They need to really beat Ferrari now for third place in constructors, with McLaren not too far behind either. But a win would go a long, long way. But Sergio Perez only down in P8, but of course he had to make a component change and drop to 10th for a good penalty. And George Russell has finally cleared Aiden Jackson now, as Jackson's miserable race continues. I'm pretty sure that was debris there, but I don't think so. Just the camera doing quick cuts to get back to the action. We've got a train forming, well, not a train really, but a two-car kind of scrap, a three-car scrap for P6, being currently held by Sebastian Vettel, who's a winner here back in, I think it was 2013. Maybe even 2012 for that matter. Maybe one of those years, because he's not won here since. He probably took a win in the Ferrari days, didn't he? Most likely. He has gone very well around here. And there's Perez! There's Perez in a spin! And he stopped. Now I wonder if that's an engine failure for Sergio Perez. He's struggling. I think we might have engine problems here for Sergio Perez. And that would be the reason. And he can barely get it moving. He does pull to the side out of the way. Very well played by Perez to avoid the appearance of a safety car. And this is into turn 10. Takes too much curb and spins it. And the car literally just cuts out on him. So, if anything, I think that's probably all due to a loss of hydraulic pressure in the Red Bull. And he is able to kind of move it. And it could be gearbox related as well. Sergio Perez having a multitude of issues there. And he has pulled off to the side. And we avoid the virtual safety car then. And there's Max Verstappen in the other Red Bull coming out of the pits there. So he's now onto the medium tyres. And they might go to the end of the race with 12 to go. Carlos Sainz now leads the US Grand Prix. But that will only be very academic for a while. Because no doubt Sainz and Hamilton will have to pit. Sainz is now Lewis Hamilton is now finally clear of Sergio Perez behind him, or Sebastian Vettel rather, because Vettel was the one in front of him. So Hamilton's hoping to go one lap or two longer and gain the advantage on Sebastian Vettel, and he'll be moving up to 5th place if that's the case, with Perez spinning out, although Perez was behind him. And there's Aiden Jackson ahead of Antonio Giovinazzi. It doesn't really mention in terms of points, but it will be a personal win for HAAS if Jackson can keep that. But he's kind of struggled all race long, to be fair. Well, Carlos Sainz, a winner of the French Grand Prix earlier this season. He's probably not going to win this one. But he knows how to lead a race and he knows how to win one now. But will he be coming in? No, yes, he will. Yes, he will. He's coming in. And with Bottas and Verstappen only 8 seconds behind. Hamilton, that'll be. And Hamilton's coming in as well. So, it is a 2-stop race. This is a tyre eater, this track. And Hamilton goes onto the medium tyres, as does Sainz. And they will probably most likely get to the end of the race, I would have thought. With 11 to go. And I don't think, and Hamilton has cleared Vettel. Perfectly done by Lewis Hamilton. Hammer time has put him ahead of Vettel, and now he can chase after Lando Norris and the McLaren. Wonderfully done by Lewis Hamilton. He's finally got clear of Sebastian Vettel, who's been struggling to pass him all day. But wonderful strategy work has put him back ahead. Fernando Alonso is now down in P8. He was P6 at one point. And Antonio Giovinazzi is now back into the points, or on the verge of it at least, in P11. As he has passed Jackson, and I don't think it's going to be too long before Raikkonen passes Jackson as well. So HAAS were really just hoping to wait one less stop than everyone else. Putting Jackson on the hard tyres. And it has not paid dividends for him today. Review of the Ferris wheel there. I don't think it's officially called the Ferris wheel. I think that's kind of. saying for it. And there's Giovinazzi dropping out of the race. And Giovinazzi's car has gone kaput. I think it might be a gearbox failure. Because there's no smoke coming out of the back of that car. So that now promotes Kimi Raikkonen up to 11th. And one more retirement. And Alfa Romeo at the front. And Alfa Romeo will be in the points now. But Jackson won't be too far behind. He's P12. But it is a question of how long he'll stay there. Max Verstappen is doing an absolutely tremendous job of keeping Bottas behind. Well, what could have been for Max Verstappen? Only grabbing his second win of the year. Well, he's on for it. He won the Austrian Grand Prix. Probably should have won a couple more, but for reliability. I think he was on to win in Styria, wasn't he? I think Red Bull were on for the 1-2 there. This could have finished highly in the Spanish Grand Prix as well. I think Max Verstappen actually went into the lead at that race. Red Bull's reliability has been their Achilles heel all season long. Failure after failure has put Max Verstappen on the back foot for the second half of the season in terms of, as far as grid penalties are concerned. Charles Leclerc running in P3 at the moment. The Ferraris again just looking strong. The Ferrari B-Spec unit, if they can keep it and improve it for next season, who knows where they will be. They could be front runners for the next couple of years with that Ferrari B-Spec. They just need to sort the rest of the car out. HAAS, I think that's even more apparent. With the way Jackson is just struggling in the corners today. Well, he's put up a valiant fight, to be fair, Aiden Jackson, but the car is just not cooperating with him. To be fair, P13 in this boat, it must feel like, is not too shabby, to be fair. I do have a feeling that Jackson's going to make one more stop. I don't think the hards are going to last till the end of the race. He put them on so early. And here's interesting. Lewis Hamilton has caught up to the back of Lando Norris. Now, Hamilton will have DRS. There is the rear wing open, as you can see. Will Hamilton make a lunge? He has to for the championship. Down the inside into turn 11. Lewis Hamilton, collision light pass. And Lando will try and hold it around the outside. But Lewis goes into P5. It's very much a damage limitation race for Lewis Hamilton. But now we can see Carlos Sainz. Probably is a speck in the distance for now. But Hamilton is absolutely flying at this very moment. Max Verstappen, I think, currently holds the fastest lap of the race. He did that after the restart happened from the full safety car. Well, here's Pierre Gasly. And he was the one that caused that whole traffic jam at the start of the first corner. When he tried a pretty audacious lunge on Jackson, to be fair. Gasly has not really looked on it for the last few races. Of course, he had that incident where he took George Russell out in Zandvoort, but then he followed it up with a podium in Monza. And once again, just a really audacious move into turn 1. Very far out for any reliable move that was on there. But he's much closer to Jackson now. So let's see if we can take it around the inside into turn 1 with DRS activated. Jackson's going to not really fight this one too hard. He's on the wrong tyres for a start. And Gasly does make it into P13. Much better move from Gasly. And if only he'd done that earlier. Well, HAAS tried to be audacious, putting Jackson on the hard tyres, making one less stop, and it's turned out pretty badly for him, but HAAS might as well have tried something. They probably didn't look on for points in this race because the car has been a handful, especially in the first sector. And Bottas is just showing how good he's been this season. He's actually sticking with Verstappen pretty well, to be fair. So why he's not strolling up to the back of Verstappen and passing him with DRS is anyone's guess. Maybe Red Bull has pretty good, decent straight line speed without it. And maybe a good ERS system as well. HAAS have really talked really well about their ARS system, and they've said it really has helped Jackson win at Monza, which it did. Coupled with the Ferrari B-Spec unit, the HAAS would be quite a good car, especially in the power department, but everywhere else is just it's just not there. And their positions have flattered them this season. And well, Jackson won't be complaining because he's got a very high racing stock now for next season. And he is going to come into the pits. Most likely to put the medium tyres on. He might have a set of softs left over in qualifying. But he probably started on those. Let's see what he does. And it is the soft tyres for Jackson. They had a spare set of softs to put on the car then. And we'll see if Jackson can fly. But he's down in last place. We'll probably have to go some to catch Russell. When is Russell on? We probably should have kept note of that. Most likely on the mediums, I would have thought. It was just 7 laps to go, and we do have a battle for the lead here. Valtteri Bottas is staying close to Verstappen, but he's not able to pass him. Let's see with DRS if he gets any closer. Verstappen seems to have a really good drive out of that final corner, and he puts Bottas on the back foot going into the first corner. Well, they've kind of dropped Charles Leclerc, but they haven't left him behind. They're only 2 seconds behind this leading duo at the moment. Max Verstappen looking back on form. A real story of what could have been for Max Verstappen. But what a story we've had despite that. The most unlikely title challenger to this man, Lewis Hamilton, who was going for a record-breaking 8th World Championship to put him ahead of the great Michael Schumacher. But it doesn't look like it's going that way. Valtteri Bottas could be winning his first title. And to be fair, if he is, then he definitely earned it at the start of the season, taking, I think it was 3 wins out of the first 5, with Lewis Hamilton winning in Portimao, and no, Hamilton won Bahrain, Bottas won Imola, that was it, Imola and Spain. I think he won at Monaco as well. Bottas was just on a roll at the first half of the season, and then the wins started coming for others. We had a first win for Carlos Sainz, we had a first win for Lando Norris, and then finally, at the 9th time of asking, Max Verstappen grabbed his first win of the season. And then we had an absolute sterling Grand Prix from Lewis Hamilton in Silverstone. But since then, Bottas has been on it, and he's on the verge now of taking the championship. It will not happen today, but it puts him in prime position in Mexico to take it. I believe that if the positions stay as they are, Bottas would only need 15 or so points on Hamilton. He would be almost a race win away, if not under it, to take the title in Mexico City. And it's very much a Red Bull track in recent years as well. So if Max Verstappen doesn't have to take any more grid penalties, expect him to be right near the front. Hamilton needs to get past Carlos Sainz, because of the positions as they are, Hamilton's title will hang by a thread. He would basically need to beat Bottas in the final 3 races, and I don't think even that would be enough. And that's an Alpine edge. Oh, is that a retirement for Alonso? It is. Fernando Alonso's out of the race, and Alpine, who were on for a very decent result with Alonso this weekend, and it's another retirement for them. And maybe that is the justification, all the justification Alonso needs. But this venture back into Formula 1 just hasn't worked out for him. And well, he could be going He could be going as quickly as he came back. And who will take that seat? I don't think Mercedes will let Jackson have it. I think they want him at Aston Martin if they can help it. It all depends on what can be sorted out between their two current drivers. I mean, would Vettel want to step aside and go to HAAS? Mentor Mick Schumacher properly? It would certainly be a situation that Schumacher would relish big time. The problem is, if we don't get the new cars, then HAAS are going to be absolutely nowhere for next season. No development on this one, this car, and it's all 2022 specifications in the pipeline. But they could take a massive hit if these cars don't come to fruition. Of course, it would give HAAS more time to prepare if we do push them back a further year, and the FIA says if we do push them back a further year, it'll be the final year, and they will definitely come into fruition in 2023 at the latest. So if we do have to wait an extra year, that will give HAAS plenty of time to prepare, and they could be the dark horses for 2023 if that is the case. But Mick Schumacher is going to have to take another year of pain to do that, because I don't think he'll be going anywhere, because there's nowhere really for him. Part of the Ferrari Driver Academy, Ferrari sticking with Leclerc and Sainz for the next year. Red Bull also sticking with Verstappen and Perez, at least for now. And let's not forget, we've all heard the stories that Max Verstappen has a performance clause in his contract. But I think if he was going to initiate that, he would have done it already. There's nowhere for him to go. Mercedes look to be sticking at the very least. Maybe there'll be a surprise swap in the offer. Maybe they'll swap Bottas out anyway. I think the question will be, if Bottas does take the championship, will he run the number one on the car? That is the question. We haven't seen the number one since Sebastian Vettel back in 2014. Some could argue we should have seen the number one back on the car in 2018. But unfortunately, the end of the season did not go Vettel's way at all. And Hamilton was unbeatable. So far this season, it's not really looked like that for Lewis Hamilton. He took a stunning win at Russian Grand Prix. But it wasn't all convincing. And now, if Hamilton doesn't win the next two, he has to win. He'll have to win at Saudi Arabia, Brazil, Saudi Arabia, and Abu Dhabi to end 2021 and on a century of race wins. Based on this evidence, he doesn't look like doing it. This one has been particularly a bit of a struggle. Well, not bore, but struggle for him, really. He has called up to Carlos Sainz, so to be fair, he's been half a second behind Sainz for quite some time, I think. The Ferrari power unit has got some, as Josh Revel would say, the YouTuber, it's got some mustard in that engine, which basically means it's a powerhouse. And it is, to be fair. It won the French Grand Prix, and it also won the Italian Grand Prix, technically, through Aiden Jackson driving that car. And, well, Jackson's had an absolute no-go here today. Last in the pecking order. He's not been last for a while, Aiden Jackson. He's not really been used to this season. But I think the lack of development is starting to hit home at HAAS. They're starting to really struggle in the second half of the season as they fall further and further and further behind. The win at Monza was through Jackson's will. And fantastic restarts, to be fair. Right now, Jackson's just looking just to get out of here, I think. He's catching Russell, to be fair, though. And we focus on these two with 2 laps to go. And there's Lewis Hamilton catching Carlos Sainz. Been there for a couple of laps now, though. Hamilton into 4th place. Jackson has DRS on the Williams ahead. And he's going to go try down the inside. And this would be one of the only moves Jackson's made all race. He's back on the soft tyres. Okay, Russell ran a little wide there. Around this corner, and Jackson is there. There he was, and decided against that move. We've seen moves there before from Max Verstappen, which he was later penalised for, and took off the podium for gaining an advantage. There's DRS on Russell. He looks faster, takes to the inside, and Aiden Jackson has got a move done. And that move onto the hard tyres was really ill-fated, but I guess HAAS could roll the dice. It just didn't pay off. Well, here we go then, the final lap of the race. Max Verstappen is your race leader. Nothing really much has changed since the end of the safety car period. No points for Alfa Romeo, it looks like, and that will have HAAS breathing a very big sigh of relief. Hamilton has already gone past the first DRS zone and not past Carlos Sainz. Bottas, I think, would only need to outscore Hamilton by 15 points in Mexico City. It sounds not a lot, I know. Basically, Hamilton could not finish Mexico City, and Bottas could win the championship. So it's about 15 points I think he needs to outscore him by. And the only way he could do that is by finishing 1st, 2nd or 3rd. And Hamilton probably in the low end points. I think maybe about 7th. So if Hamilton finishes 7th, then the title will go to Bottas if he's in the top 3. So Bottas is on the verge of the championship, but he still needs to finish the top 3 in Mexico City, with Hamilton I think as low as 7th or 6th. And, well, today Hamilton could only manage 5th. He's not been able to pass Carlos Sainz. Bottas has not passed Verstappen down the back straight into turn 10. So here we go. Into corner 20. Max Verstappen wins the United States Grand Prix. A convincing win ahead of Valtteri Bottas. And, well, it was never in doubt from minute 1. Max was absolutely stellar. And Carlos Sainz has held off Lewis Hamilton, and that puts the championship firmly into the seat of Valtteri Bottas. And Jackson is going to be last but 1.
Sheer class, Max. That was classy. What a drive. What a drive. What a drive, Max. Masterful. Well done, mate.
Oh, yes, guys. Unbelievable.
And a very happy Max Verstappen has won the United States Grand Prix. An absolutely convincing performance, and really it's more a hollow win really, because it only tells what might have been for Red Bull had they not had all the ill-fated reliability at the beginning of the season. And well, Aiden Jackson, his team tried something different to the others, and it really didn't pay off. But he's going to be last but 1 because he did beat George Russell by passing him at the first corner. But it's been a bit of a low-key one for Jackson. It's been a pretty miserable one for HAAS at the home Grand Prix. Mick Schumacher out with all calamities at the first corner caused by Pierre Gasly, when he really kind of made a bit of a lunge on Jackson, really. But it wasn't Jackson's fault. Max Verstappen wins, but it only tells what might have been, because he's too far away in the championship. Speaking on that, Valtteri Bottas now needs to outscore Hamilton by 15 points, and he will take the championship in Mexico City. A tall ask, but once again, Hamilton didn't look at it this weekend. Only P5 from P9 on the grid, and I think that really hammers home just how good the Ferrari power unit has been this year. Charles Leclerc back on the podium ahead of Sainz. Lando Norris down to 6th, followed by Vettel, Ricciardo into the points. Yuki Tsunoda and Pierre Gasly, despite all that calamities at the first corner, still get double point finish for AlphaTauri. No points for Alfa Romeo, which will have Haas breathing a huge sigh of relief because it has been a sour one for them this weekend. Jackson never had the pace. He was on the wrong tyres. Schumacher pretty much took himself out of the race with a collision with another Williams in a traffic jam, very much like at Monza. To be fair, Sergio Perez having a strange retirement, losing hydraulic pressure in his car, which caused a spin, and he was out too. Bottas then, 71 points ahead of Lewis Hamilton, so he might have to only outscore him by 5. 15 would put him... Yeah, it would probably be by about 14 then. 14. Bottas needs to outscore Hamilton by to put him on 85 points and win the title. No movers below Jackson, which would be nice. And it's still... Can't really tell what that is, but Williams still on no score. And that's unfortunate. Max Verstappen takes the win of the US Grand Prix. Valtteri Bottas is within touching distance now of the title. He could wrap it up with 2 rounds to go. It's going to be tantalisingly close, but I don't think there's much chance of Hamilton letting him outscore him by 15 points. We're off to Mexico City, the home of the playground of Red Bull, and we'll hope for more of this when we get there. We'll see you then.